Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Eric with SweetSpotDFS, and these are my PrizePicks PGA plays for the 2022 Charles Schwab Challenge. I should say my picks for rounds 1, and then strategies for rounds 2, 3, and 4. But before we get into that, reminder, if you sign up on PrizePicks using the promo code SweetSpot, I am going to give you $20. That is, of course, after you put an initial deposit of $20 in there. That way, it's free for you guys. And by the way, PrizePicks will match your deposit up to $100, so that 20 turns into 40. And really just costs you that initial investment. You can also take advantage of the deposit match to its fullest by putting $100 in. Highly encourage you guys to do that. That way you have more money to play with. You're still going to get $20 from me by using the promo code SweetSpot. Link in the description below. Now, I always like to start out with strategy. So this is strategy for rounds 1, 2, 3, and 4. Obviously, you guys know this by now. Go to winfinder.com. I just like to show it to you every single time because sometimes it's a pain in the butt to try to find these golf courses. But if you go to the map on Windfinder, you find Fort Worth. You just scroll in on Fort Worth. It's really close. You kind of just follow this river right to this area where it says Clear Fork Trinity River. Scroll on in and you have the Colonial Country Club. Now, obviously, you guys probably know how to use this already. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday dates are there. You can see the projected weather. Always check either the day of making your selections or the night before. I think that's a no-brainer. You guys probably already know that by now. But if we go to Thursday and we take a look at 7 a.m., what the weather's going to be, we see 5 miles an hour. So the morning wave isn't going to see a lot of wind. So we have 8 at 10 a.m. And then once we get to 1 p.m., it gets into 13 miles an hour. Now, this is when our afternoon tee times are going to be teeing off. So they're already going to be looking at somewhere between 5 to 8 miles an hour stronger wind. It will affect their scores, probably not substantially, but it still will. And it's something to always consider when making your selections, because even if we go throughout the afternoon, 1 p.m., 4 p.m., 7 p.m. starts to whittle down to 7 miles an hour, it is still pretty heavy for about 6 hours of that afternoon round. Well, I should say like 4 to 6, somewhere in there, because we don't really quite know. We just have 3-hour increments we get to work with. But again, come here during Friday to see what the weather is going to be like here. I mean, this is also, you want to look at this during your DFS slates Wednesday night before you really, set your lineups for the week. So Thursday, Friday look pretty benign. Looks like scoring conditions are going to be fairly optimal. One thing to note, last year, actually, we'll get into that when we look at the picks for this week. But this is basically where you want to go beforehand, windfinder.com. So that's all that I have for you there. The other thing to note is the Charles Schwab Challenge is being played at Colonial Country Club. And the PGA Tour has been here for a while. It's a par 70, 7,200 yards. The course can play pretty difficult depending on the wind. It's a very tight tree-lined golf course, so scoring isn't as optimal as, say, the Byron Nelson 2 weeks ago. You remember the winning score there was, 26 under? Something like that. This is going to be closer to like 14 under. 14, 15, 16 under, somewhere in there. So it's going to be a little bit more challenging. The cut score here is like +1 on average. And the average score, just looking at 2021, I know it wasn't a deep dive on my research, but just looking at 2021, your average score was just above 69 per round. So when we look at some of these projections, 67.5, 68, and this is just for strokes, by the way. There are 5 boards you can select. I'm just currently on strokes. You can see a lot of those, a lot of these projections are underneath the average round by round score for 2021. And 2021 actually did have very similar scoring conditions than what we have now. So I don't really anticipate scoring being that much different. Now, I think both of these rounds, Thursday and Friday of this year, kind of resembles Friday's round of last year. Very little wind. We had 33 golfers last year shoot 68 or better. I should say differently. Scored under 68. So that would be 67 and better. That's pretty significant because on Thursday, we only had 13 last year. So 13 that scored sub 68 Thursday's round, 33 on Friday's round. So a huge uptick in the amount of rounds 67 and below. So when we look at these projections, I almost just feel like if you really want to flirt with the overs for these 67.5s, I think it's a good place to start. Because, you know, a lot of these projections, I think we just select these 5 golfers here and say we'd go like 3 overs versus 2 unders. I think you're only getting 11x. Yeah, so you're only getting 11x on that payout. Yeah, 11x. Whereas if you choose 3 unders, you get 250. So PrizePicks is kind of leaning towards these projections are a bit soft. Yeah, they're a bit soft. Therefore, they want to entice you to pick the unders. So these 67.5s, I think, are a little difficult to select all of them as your unders. But I do believe you can select a couple of them as your overs. I wouldn't have any issue with that. Now, one thing to note, remember the afternoon's going to be a little tougher than the morning. Well, Scotty Scheffler's in the morning, Morikawa's in the morning, Justin Thomas is in the morning. You can see this on PrizePicks. It kind of already shows it for you what round or what time they're teeing off. But Jordan Spieth is in the afternoon, as is Will Zalatoris, and they're both 67.5. Now, Spieth is kind of a monster at this golf course. This is a really good projection for him. He shot 3 rounds of 66 or better last year, and his last round was a 73. So 3 rounds were under this projection. You know, you use your odds, pretty good chance he's going to finish under 67.5. But, you know, it's just, what do you feel? What is your risk? A lot of these other guys, I mean, I like to pick on the guys who aren't extremely good at putting. So like Morikawa, JT at times, he's a very streaky putter. Finau is another streaky putter. You know, if people are going to score on this golf course, they're going to have to make putts, obviously. So as great as ball strikers as those guys are, I could probably pick on them. Same goes with Will Zalatoris. You know, if he has a bad putting round, especially after missing out on the playoff for the PGA Championship last week, I think it's a good spot to choose Will Zalatoris on hitting the over. Totally up to you guys. Whatever your threshold is, just a little idea there. Now, there are 4 other boards other than strokes. You have your typical birdies or better, greens in regulation, and fairways hit. I think they're anticipating, you know, going with holes at I think it's called the Horrible Horseshoe. I'm sure it's going to say like holes 4, 5, 6 over here at some point during the week. You know, look into that. That's a fun one to, you know, to make selections on, because more often than not, people are going to be over par heading through that. And it's basically going to have a projection for you to choose that. So look for that. But they have a birdies or better matchup, and I really like these. This is where I kind of made a little bit of money at the PGA Championship last year, or not last year, but last week. Basically, look at the golfers that are paired up. And like I said, I like to pick on golfers who kind of have like bad putting splits. So like JT versus Sam Burns, both of these guys can get nuclear when it comes to making birdies. I probably trust Sam Burns a little bit more than Justin Thomas. So when you make these selections, you're looking at Justin Thomas. Is he going to have more birdies than Sam Burns? If you think so, you hit the over. If not, you hit the under. I would hit the under when it comes to Justin Thomas. Now, I do like Justin Thomas this week, but if we're going round by round, even if we were to go 4 rounds, I think Burns beats Thomas 3 of those 4 rounds. So I don't mind going with an under there. Now, when it comes to Scheffler versus Hovland, Hovland can get nuclear, but he also can, well, you know what? It's a very good matchup. I was just thinking about this. Hovland makes a lot of bogeys, but he also makes a lot of birdies. He's very aggressive. So with that being said, maybe this is where we select Hovland and you can hit an under. Now, you can mix and match these to try to get your 12.5 multiplier. Totally up to you guys. But I really like the birdie or better matchups because I think you can really take advantage of it. Like Webb Simpson versus Vincent Whaley. An interesting one. Zalatoris versus Riley is also really interesting. You know, I'd always pick on Morikawa just because if he isn't putting well, you know, obviously goes with that. But some of these matchups are just crazy. Like Bohauser versus Kurt Kitayama. I'm choosing Kitayama on that one. Finau versus Davis. Probably picking Davis on that one. Yeah, you can make a lot of hay looking at these matchups. But if you want to know what my pick is for round one, I only put one in. I had $6 left in my account. I just like to kind of use what I have and hopefully stay afloat. If not, hit that 12.5 multiplier. I went with Morikawa over 67.5 strokes. Justin Thomas under 67.5. Finau over 68. Taylor Gooch under 68.5. And also Scotty Scheffler under 67.5. And this is projected to get me that 12.5 multiplier. I chose the 2 overs, the 3 unders. You can follow me with this pick. Hopefully as a community, we can all win together. And then from there, just obviously make more picks. Now, always pay attention to what's happening round by round. So then when you see the new projections for the next day, you can either take advantage of them if they're too soft, or if they're too, you know, what's the other word from soft? Not hard. I don't think you would say it's too hard when it comes to the projections, but hopefully you understand what I'm saying. You want to be taking advantage of the projections if they misproject some of these strokes. It happens from time to time, depending on what the weather is going to be like, depending on what the rest of the public picks. A lot of the public doesn't look at weather. They don't understand there is an advantage to have. So just be on the lookout over that. Again, I like to play soft my round one and then really dig into it rounds 2, 3, and 4, just because now you understand how the golf course is playing and how some of these players are reacting to the golf course or how well they're doing at the golf course. So that concludes my picks and strategies. Man, I thought I went through this fast. 12 minutes? Oh, well. Hopefully you guys win some money. Thank you for watching. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I will see you in the next one. All right, bye.